Hello and welcome to the Bloody Ghost Show, an extension of the Bloody Ghost YouTube channel. Today we are talking about French horror films. I am your host, Matt.
I'm Madeline.
And today we are talking about the gruesome and gory stuff that comes from overseas. The French stuff, the good stuff. The baguette-flavored horror movies. The films we're talking about today, we're going to talk about Martyrs, High Tension, Them, and Inside, which are all very, very gory and intense movies. If you've never seen them, there's going to be some links in the description below so you can check them out anytime. But yeah, let's get right to it. There is some very disturbing images in all of these movies.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
I loved, that being said, I loved all of them. They're very enjoyable. It was kind of a breath, I was talking to you before we started recording. This is like a breath of fresh air to me, who
Yeah.
I'm just so used to, like, American horror, straight down the middle, like, very formulaed, and, like, gore is completely different throughout,
Yeah.
I guess every country, but, like, these films have some of the goriest, most realistic looking. It's disturbing. There's a lot of things that I went to sleep after watching these, and I was like, God, I can't get that image out of my face, or out of my mind, or whatever it was, and it was brutal.
Yeah, it sticks with you.
Yeah.
It sticks with you a couple days.
Yeah,
I think
it-
the first time I saw Martyrs, it stuck with me for like months.
Yeah, I went to
Yeah.
work the next day, and everybody's like, "You all right, man?" I was like, "Yeah, no, I just watched a crazy French film last night, and I'm disturbed." But I mean, we'll just jump right into Martyrs. I mean, Martyrs is insanely entertaining. At its core level, it is one of the most entertaining horror movies. The time flew by in this movie for me. Like, all of a sudden I was like, wow, this movie's halfway over, and like it felt short because it was so.
It had such a build up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, the movie does take a complete turn halfway through the film into like something a little bit different. But man, this movie, I don't know, the reveal of everything just kind of was such a slow burn in it, but the action and everything that's happening is just like in your face and intense the whole time. And I like the supernatural element of it that.
Right.
I don't know if it plays out in the American remake as much, but you've seen that one. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Check. Don't need to go back to it. But yeah,
It
no.
had its good points. It just, yeah, it was definitely the French version. As you know, I think a lot of people can relate to. The original is always the more powerful.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be critics of that.
Yeah, I mean, how do you describe? I was trying to describe Martyrs to the crew before, and it's really hard to describe. I mean, it's a simple story, but like, it's got so many layers to it that really makes it very complex. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like as simple as killer breaks in the door and tries to kill everybody. It's like straight up, this young girl. We start the film and the main character of Lucy is running away, and we have no idea what happened to her, but she's like badly abused.
Yeah.
And there's a great little like kind of documentary exposition like thing that happens in the beginning of it, which is like the opening title sequence where it's kind of showing her befriending Anna, and it's, I don't know, it's really cool. The child actors in this were also really great.
Yeah, they were phenomenal. I forgot about that intro too. Like
Yeah.
rewatching it, I had forgotten previously about their two story. I just remembered when I first watched it, they just like came through like guns blazing, like in the house, and then like to rewatch it again and even have that like background was so helpful because I had forgotten about it. Like I knew that they were tormented, but I didn't know. It was helpful, yeah.
Yeah,
I
same
liked
thing. It
that.
was like, I remember seeing this a long time ago, like kind of when it first came out or when it was first allowed to be shown in the U.S. And it was, I remember it being a much more of like a teamwork thing, like killing the family and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's
it-
exactly it, and it's all just
And
her.
it's mostly Lucy, and then Anna comes
Exactly.
in like, what the fuck happened? And like tries to be like, and that to me, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm an adult now, more of an adult, but it was just, I guess this was only 2008, it's 10 years ago, but man, this was so much more scary having that person who is absolutely in love with Lucy and is going to do whatever she can to help her, but like is also still kind of has that conscious feeling of like, oh my God, these people are dead. That's why she tries to help the mom out of there, and she knows
Yeah.
like, because she's never seen the lady or whoever's torturing Lucy the whole time. Which I thought was a great element to
That
this.
line though was so good. And that's something that was missing in the American one. Because a lot of the script was so similar. Like, I was sitting there, like, quoting, like, oh, he's going to say this next. And then they did not say that line.
Yeah.
The line's powerful. It might be too raunchy for you two, but it's
No,
like,
say it.
I don't remember it word for word, but it's something about like how every day she could remember the woman like standing over her, and she could basically
smell.
like smell her. I don't know what he said, twat or snatch or something, but like the wretched like smell of her. And she like took Anna and was like, "This is what I smelled every day."
Yeah.
And they didn't do that on the American one. They only did that for the guy on that, and I thought
that's
that was
weird.
like kind of a missing element.
That's what I've only seen the trailer for the American remake of it, and like there seems to be a lot more different like torture things happening in it. Like they light a girl on fire and things like that in it.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
which is cool. I guess if you got a bigger budget, you can get away with that. But like I still feel like the basicness of the torture that happens to Anna and like the other girls is like much more worse than that. I feel like if you're just lighting the fire on somebody, it's kind of like, yeah, it's a crazy scene, it could be shot cool or whatever, but like not being able to just like, I mean, Jesus, there's like so many vignettes of just like her getting the shit beat out of her for like she just stops fighting back after a while.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like brutally beating her and like, or trying to feed her what seemingly, I guess you see it later on in the movie, it's actually vegetables and stuff or whatever.
It doesn't
that they're
look like that.
It just looks like Grey Poupon the whole time. That's all I kept thinking. I was
so
just like,
foul.
Grey fucking Poupon in water? Like, God. And the other thing really quick that scared the shit out of me is when Anna's being tortured and they bring the cart in with the sponge bath stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's two buckets. There's a sponge bath bucket, and then there's where they pour like the pee and the poop bucket into. The whole time I was like, don't dip that sponge into the poop bucket. Please don't dip that sponge. That's where I'm going to draw the line. You're wiping pee in her face. Like, I'm not going to like that. Luckily, she missed. She went to the soapy water. But, man, this movie is brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, it hooks you. And, I mean, like, if you don't like torture porn-y type movies or something like that, or you're not a real big fan of, violence towards women, which I'm not. I'm not saying I am.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's, that was a hard part for me watching the second half, is I was just like, sitting there and I was watching with my wife, and it was just kind of like, how could somebody do this? I was like, the writer of this movie clearly killed kittens as a kid and fucked up. Like, there is something wrong with the person on an internal level somewhere for writing this. But it's just such an entertaining piece of cinema, and if you've never given it a shot, I strongly suggest giving it a shot, because
Definitely.
the gore is great, the story is great, the acting is unbelievable, and there's just like those little moments, like the line of like, I could smell her. This is what I smelled over me every day.
Yeah, yeah.
To
it
try to
sticks with you.
convince Anna, like, you're helping me because these people tortured me. And, because Anna the whole time is like, I don't know if this is them, until after Lucy kills herself, and it's just like.
But does she kill herself?
But I don't know. I don't know.
You know
And
what
I
I mean?
love
Like,
the
she
way
does
that was shot.
Kill
That was
herself,
so cool.
but it's like, yeah, no, and they play off that in the American version kind
Mm-hmm.
of the same way, but in the end, I just thought it was so much more powerful for her to die then,
Mm-hmm.
like in the French one, because it just made sense, and it was like beautiful.
Well, it just showed you like there are some stakes in this movie,
Self-destruction,
and there's like
yeah.
like nobody is safe. I love when movies do that. Even back to like Psycho, killing off Janet Leigh halfway through the movie, 30 minutes into the movie. You're just
Yeah.
like, holy shit, what's gonna happen now? I love the movies because like it forces you to be put in a place of like, oh man, I got to be involved now, because now I have to like pick up halfway through the movie. I have to still enjoy what's happening and pay attention, which is great. And this movie, I paid too much attention to what was happening in the second part of this movie, and this straight up Anna at the end where she's like completely flayed and like sitting there, and like, first of all, the makeup effects in this movie are like mint, top notch makeup effects. The blood and the gore in this movie are unbelievably realistic, and when she's completely filleted and like hanging underneath the UV lights and stuff, and like looking up and seeing that kind of like cloud tunnely portal thing or whatever it is, the makeup there was just like,
so good.
it was so good. And it was, at that point, I was like looking away a lot, because like she gets beaten so bad, she breaks her nose, bloody face, black eyes,
Yeah, I mean,
all
the
that
actress,
stuff.
phenomenal acting in both of them, honestly.
Yeah. It looks like she lost a lot of weight during that too. Like it looks
Definitely.
like they totally must have stopped down, let her lose like 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she went from like a fit person to,
emaciated.
yeah. And like I bet, and like one thing I was thinking of the whole time, I hate it when people waste food in movies.
Oh.
And when she gets the call from Lucy in the beginning, she's like eating like this perfect baguette sandwich, and I was like, oh, this is a French film. And so she's eating like this perfect like croque de madame or whatever sandwich, and she just throws it out the window, and I was like, That's a perfectly good sandwich, Hannah. What is happening? And that's why I think she became a martyr, because she threw away the food. And I was like, you deserved it a little bit. But no. I was just thinking, I was like, man, I bet you she wishes she had that sandwich right now, like through the whole third act of this movie. It was just brutal. She's just eating Grey Poupon sloop and going at it. And, it was just, whew. And I love the Mademoiselle character. We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah,
she
was
adds a lot of weight
so
to
good.
it. That's the thing I love about French horror movies is it's not, in America, it's about let's get the young, hot people in there. Like, even like adults in horror movies are like models.
Yeah.
And in all of these movies, everybody's beautiful in their own right, but like in all of these movies, they just seem like real people.
Mademoiselle seemed real.
Yeah,
She seemed
and-
like she could be the front of it. And the thing that I love about Martyrs, just like in general, it could happen.
Yeah.
This could be like a real
It could be
thing.
happening right now, which is what I was thinking too. I was
Yeah.
like, Jesus, like this could totally be happening.
Yeah.
Because there are some crazy religious groups out there, and you never know what the hell they're thinking.
Yeah.
Please don't send us anything in the mail. If you are one of those groups, we respect you. But yeah, man, she was great, a great element to it. Like when she just came in and said like, here's the business, flipping through her book or whatever. And that's
Yeah.
how it is, girl. So enjoy. And it's just like, the whole time I was sitting there watching it, I was like, they're not going to put her into this. Like, they're not going to do it. They're just showing her. Maybe they'll pull her out. Like, maybe
Yeah.
this is still a government good guys, even though they're all wearing black or whatever. But nope. It was so brutal. And I thoroughly enjoy giving this a rewatch because it was, I don't know, I just got to enjoy it a little bit more. I feel
Yeah.
like maybe I just saw more this time because maybe the first time I was looking away, which is why I missed some of that stuff. I was just like, man, this is brutal.
Yeah.
Because like when that son's sitting there at the kitchen table at breakfast and he's just like got his hands on the table, he doesn't know what to do, and like,
Do you know what your parents did?
yeah, how old are you? 18. And she's like, and like, the cool part is that's the one that doesn't even like show it happen. It's like through the doors or whatever, and the door blows out. And I was like, that's
beautiful.
so fucking cool. There is a beauty to gore, and like all of these films I feel had like
Definitely.
very beautiful like splashes of blood or very artistic ways of like
Oh, it was all
covering
artistic,
stuff.
yeah.
Oh man, it's so cool. That's one thing I gotta say about French horror and French cinema in general is that
Yeah.
they give a shit about what they're making, and it shows. Like none of these
Yeah.
films had, were shot on like red type cameras or like expensive, huge budgets, and they all came out looking phenomenal. Like them looks like it was shot on like a DV cam or something like that, and
Yeah.
like the best looking one, I think, if you're looking for more of a, I guess, mainstream type horror movie, would be High Tension. I think out of all of these, that one
Yeah.
felt the most kind of American-y, film. Alexander Aja did that, who, after doing this, went on to do like the Hills Have Eyes remake, and
Which is like exactly what I thought while I was watching. I was like, this is so reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
like, and I'm glad too, because I remember we were talking before the show, and I was like, when I saw the Hills Have Eyes remake, I didn't like it at first. I thought it was like too violent, too gory, and it was because I had just been used to American horror films, and
Yeah.
and then somebody told me about High Tension, because like High Tension came out in the States like just before that, and like it was English dubbed and had a great Muse song at the end of it.
Yeah.
And which is how I got introduced to Muse as well. So
That's
thanks,
cool.
High Tension. That was great. High Tension was great. I mean, the misdirect in it obviously is a great,
So good.
great twist.
Yeah.
I just thought because the acting, that's the thing, is like the relationships that they set up in all of these are great, and they try to misdirect you as much as they can, but they don't do it like an American movie will do it, like where you like open up a medicine cabinet and there's nobody there, and then it closes and it's like your friend. It's like, oh hey, you forgot your wallet.
Yeah.
Like it's not something like that. It's like, let me show you like a girl running away, like in Martyrs when you meet the family in the beginning, where she's running away screaming and seemingly in terror from like an attacker, and then it's her
Right.
brother trying to take a love letter away from her and stuff like that. I love that type of stuff.
That was perfect. Yeah.
So good. High Tension,
High
although the
Tension.
whole movie is like a twist, I guess, but man,
Was it okay? One thing that was difficult for me was just to get behind like that guy as a killer.
the big like work janitor, I don't even know what his business was.
It was kind of like a Michael Myers type, like mechanic
Mm-hmm.
type thing. And they actually like that one scene in the bathroom. I was just like, oh my god, this
Yeah.
is Halloween.
I like to see him. I liked when they weren't showing his face. Like the whole
Yeah.
beginning sequence in the house and everything was like terrifying. I could have done with them never showing his face, because when they do show his face, it is kind of goofy looking.
Yeah.
Kind of like Santa Claus if he shaved his beard.
He just, I don't know, like when I think of like a French killer or serial killer, I think of someone like Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily think of like
because they are much more elegant killers.
Yeah,
in
he's like
France.
sophisticated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's gonna like cook up some liver with like a special sauce or something.
Yeah, I did love
But-
his car. His car was
Oh,
awesome.
his car was cool.
That was a
yeah.
great prop.
Yeah.
I didn't like his intro though, where he's like,
You didn't like it? I thought it was hilarious.
I thought it was funny. I laughed, but I was like, oh, that's the intro for the killer. I thought like if you maybe saw that later, yeah, he just drops the head out the window, like bye.
Do you have that on here? You have the
Oh
head.
my god, the head is
I
somewhere in
noticed
here.
the head. That was like one of the first things I noticed.
It's somewhere on here.
Yeah.
It's fucking. That was just such a great like. That's another thing that I really like about like French horror films is in American films you get a lot of that where it's like that pressure release, like
Yeah.
you know, you get really intense and then they like add some comedy into it or something like that, you know, and then like Scream is if you check out Deep Cuts, I just did Scream so you guys can see what I was talking about there, but they do great pressure releases in American cinema where it's like comedy built into the script or something like that. French horror, I didn't feel like there was any of that.
No.
It is all just straightforward. This is what would happen in
Yeah.
reality. We wouldn't be joking about this right now. We'd be really wondering about, like, are the police coming? Or you know, what's happening? Or can we get out of this situation? And there wouldn't be time for a joke or, like, quoting a horror movie or something in this moment. And I just... There's a realistic element to French horror that I cannot appreciate enough.
What did you think of her bat in the end? Did it remind you of Lucille? It
did.
reminded me so much of it. I was
It
like,
did.
wow.
And when you do see the turn happen or whatever in High Tension and it is her, like, it got me the first time. I didn't think it was her. I always wondered why her friend wasn't, like, wanting to be helped. Like, I was like, why don't you want her to help you out of this? Like, why is there so much hesitation? And then, like, when it actually turned and it was not, you know, she was the killer or whatever, I was just like, holy shit. Like, and then I started thinking about, well, how did she follow the car and do all that?
That car was cool.
Yeah.
The like Kill Bill car.
Yeah, that was a good one. I do like the gore. I don't like when dogs and cats die in movies, though.
Yeah,
And
no.
You killed that dog, and that was not cool. I will say that.
Not a fan.
Not a fan of that. You get
Nope.
points taken off for the dog kill, but you do get points for in the beginning when she like cleans up all of her mess and like remakes her bed really quick to hide and make it seem like nobody was there. I thought that was really cool. Something I feel like I hadn't really seen before.
Yeah.
The thing I also like about all these movies is they mostly take place in like a central location. Like there's not much moving. Like you're not going to like big city, you know, things like that.
It's like only a few locations.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that. You know, in the beginning of them, it kind of reminded me of Rosemary's Baby a little bit, like the opening title sequences of them, because it was just
Yeah.
like just one car driving through a city and like crazy different angles. It just made everything like that car seem so small in such a big space, which I guess is kind of the whole idea. They're secluded, they're stuck, you know, but yeah, everything's pretty much in one little central location. You know, they really know how to shoot a movie to make it creative. And,
Yeah. I didn't know what to think of them. At first, I got really excited because I was like, oh my God, this is like a gender inclusive like film. I was like, this is awesome. But it actually has nothing to do with that. Although that is an underrepresented market
Yeah.
that should be represented more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was really interesting. It reminded me of Who Can Kill a Child.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that movie like a really long time ago. So I think that's the one. It's like a Spanish, like, yeah, and they like go to an island and it's like only the children are out to get
Kids
you.
in movies freak me out.
Kids in movies
in
are
general,
scary,
like
like
Miracle
children-
on 34th Street, like get out of here. Like, that's terrifying.
Children of the Corn.
Children of the Corn, yeah.
Things like that,
Holy
yeah.
shit,
No,
yeah.
that was terrifying.
Even
that
like
was-
Battle Royale is scary.
Exactly. It definitely had that element to it.
Yeah.
When I noticed it wasn't just like, you know, it's them. It's more than one.
Yeah,
it's, like,
and I had to like
terrifying.
skip back a little bit because like after I watched it, I was like, oh, I got to go back because like you could see in the beginning that it's a kid's hands, like strangling the girl in the car.
When it just
And-
whispers back like,
Yeah.
Mom.
Oh God, that was the thing that creeped me out the most. Is like when they actually spoke is like the creepiest part of that.
It's so creepy, yeah.
Why won't you play with us? You know, like things like that. It's just like, God damn, you know, and like
It was fun. It was like the power, like TV turning on, just
Yeah.
like random creepy things.
like the cars were moving around, like all of a sudden they're in sewers and torturing
Oh yeah,
people. And
I
like,
always look at those drains because I think I'm gonna find Pennywise.
Yeah.
But now I'm like afraid that like children have kidnapped people and we have
Yeah,
to
they're
look
torturing
out.
adults
They're-
down there.
They're torturing adults in the sewers. The rattler at the end. I feel
in
like
general, that little like I kept hearing the little clicking
scary.
thing, and I was like, at first I was like, because like I tried to watch all these, like I hadn't seen them before, I hadn't seen Inside before, and like so I tried not to read anything on them before watching them,
Yeah.
and it was just like, it was maddening how much tension I felt during them, like.
Oh, it was constant.
The opening sequence of this, I was that person in the movie theater that would have been like, "Shut the door! Get out of there! Like, what are you doing?" And also like, they must have been. I know they were in Romania or wherever, but it felt to me like they were in Los Angeles because if you call 911 in Los Angeles, you also get a voicemail sometimes. That's just like, "Please hold on the line." "Oh, you're being murdered? Please hold on the line." You know, so.
Transferred to like 5 different people.
Yeah. So the whole time I was
That's
sitting there, I was like,
actually-
"Why are the police picking up? What's happening?" I was like so stressed out. Like I was like at 11 when it came to stress during the first like 3/4 of that movie. Well, I guess through all of it. I mean,
Yeah.
there was when like the mom comes in and like she kills her mom, and that was
And
like,
Inside.
yeah,
I know that was such a cool shot though.
yeah.
Like it's just like like cinematic perfection at its best.
Sorry, I hit the set there. I was getting too excited. Yeah, no, Inside was crazy.
I know. I can't believe she kills her mom. I was just like, that was your one hope. That was your one hope.
If you're wondering what the hell Inside's about, it is.
Don't
that
watch them together. Them and Inside
Yeah, them
together.
and Inside.
Don't
It was
watch them together.
tough double feature, especially if you're an expecting parent or are thinking about having kids. You might change your mind. It is insane. First of all, like all I can say is like if you don't like if you're trying to think like, oh, I don't really want to watch a movie with subtitles or anything like that, you don't even have to watch that movie with subtitles like at all. Like you could watch it with almost no audio and it would be terrifying. Like that's the thing that's so great about all these movies is I feel like because they take the craft of filmmaking so seriously over there,
Yeah.
it is so good. Like I watched because I watched High Tension because I'd seen it English dubbed, but like I watched it with no subtitles and I completely understood everything that was happening, like trying to watch it with a fresh pair of eyes and stuff, and it was just every one of these movies is really well done, even if the budget is
Absolutely.
low. The skill of the filmmakers behind it really killed the game. I was
Yeah.
like insanely impressed. And none of these films would have been R-rated here. They would have all been NC-17. There's no way that you can stab a pregnant woman in the stomach with some scissors while she's sleeping and have it be R-rated and be like, yeah, kids can go see that. And it's so funny because like before we started filming, I was like, do they have like an MPAA out there? And like we were looking it up, and it was like only countries that like like gore or violence or like torture or whatever it would usually be dumbed down in the U.S. or anywhere else except for France and Germany. So I was like, you know what? Like, I want to check out some German horror films because I wonder how
Yeah.
rough those are. I'm sure I've seen a few, but whew, these were great. I can't stress enough how much fun these 4 were. And even though I'd seen 2 of them before, just like watching the 2 fresh ones and like kind of watching them all in like 1 week was like, I don't know. I enjoyed the hell out of that. This is a
They're good.
great task to take and watch all these movies.
Yeah, and if you're looking for a warm, family-friendly Christmas movie, Inside is definitely the one to check out. It is a Christmas
it's a
movie.
Christmas baby.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve. Holy shit! Yeah.
That's what was like so epic about it. It's like it's not only are there like what? Wait, first of all, why are there riots around Christmas?
I don't know. Maybe
I didn't even think about that. There was riots in the streets. That's like or in the suburbs, and that's why
like
they
economic
were like
stuff. That's usually what
economic
it is
stuff.
with France.
Okay.
Currently too.
Oh wow.
It's crazy. Yeah. Inside. Holy shit. Yeah. If you want a great Christmas movie, that's a. You'd add that to the list.
Yeah, and birth control at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. If your kid, if you're thinking about, if your child's like, oh, I'm in love with this guy, just be like, hey, look, be safe, practice safe sex, watch this movie.
Watch this Christmas movie.
Watch this Christmas movie. I promise it's not scary or bloody at all. Oh man,
the ending is too like.
Oh my god, it's brutal. They're just
so
beating the
epic.
shit out of each other with like kitchen appliances and stuff. I love that stuff. Like, just watching the gore in the kitchen. Like, I feel like when you really add gore, like, I'm a cook. I love to keep a clean kitchen. So like, whenever there's something happening in a kitchen with brutal gore, I'm just like, oh god. But it's extra scary for me because of the germs. But like, I just think it's so cool to see. And most of the time, kitchens are kind of white and kind of bright. So like, when they just get covered with blood, like, there's something really cool about that. And I know that some people are probably going to do a study on me for saying that and tell me that I'm messed up in the head. But I think, again, just the way they shoot gore in France is beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's artistic. Like, there's another, like Danny Boyle, if you've ever seen Sunshine, like that's another artistic way of showing gore. Like, there's a woman who, or a guy who slits his wrists in that, and he sits in like this white room, and there's like birds flying around him and stuff.
That's
and it's
really
like,
cool.
And it's beautiful, but it's like something that's horrible, at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's something that like this is done. It's just done so elegantly, even though sometimes it's sporadic and there's blood just everywhere and flying in people's faces, and
it's so
like,
true.
it's insane. There's just something
Just
so
literally,
elegant
like,
about it.
Covered
Yeah.
in blood.
And I love that they're not afraid to do that to an actor. Like, just completely soak them in blood, have them running down the streets screaming, for help. And it's just, that's something that like I feel you don't get enough of in American cinema.
Oh, yeah.
Especially American horror, because I mean, again, you're trying to. Here, I feel they're not really trying to make like, and I think they do from time to time, which is where you get like some great horror movies every once in a while out of the U.S. But like, I feel lately it's been more of a, let's gear it towards hitting a certain demographic or a certain age group, and like we have to have a PG-13. Yeah, there's a formula to it, or like they have to like die down the blood or the gore because of ratings, and so I feel like in French. These French films, like, that was never a thought to try to do a formula or try to do something a specific way to, like, adhere to, like, an audience's, like, perspective of the film. It was just like, let's make a great movie. Let's make gore happen where gore needs to happen, and do it very well. The tension in all of these movies is something that I miss in horror in the U.S. as of lately.
Yeah. I
feel like unless you're doing it to like kids in like the new It movie, or something like that, I don't really feel super scared. I don't feel. There's never a moment where I'm like screaming at the screen like I was during Them, like the intro of Them. I was just screaming nonstop. But yeah, no, it was this was such a great little field trip into French horror. I can't stress that enough. You have to see these 4 movies if you're a horror fan. I know. Reading isn't fun, but you should totally watch them. And if you don't care to not have subtitles, you'll still understand everything. I promise you. They're very well made.
Absolutely.
The amount of skill and talent that went into making that believable, and that
it's believable.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like these can be super gory movies and bloody as hell, but it's all still in the realm of reality, which I think is what really makes it even more powerful. Is the fact that it's scary. It's super high amounts of tension, and the blood and gore is super believable.
Absolutely, yeah.
I guess that's what it would look like if you took a giant buzzsaw to somebody's like face and chest, inside of a car. That's where that was so cool too, man. Like I love like when they use tools like that and they're like going through glass. Like, I don't know what that is.
I hadn't seen a cutter like that. I guess it's for tile.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's like a big like table saw thing.
It's huge.
Yeah,
it's
I didn't know you could just like carry that around. They had to have adapted that. Because that's like such a random like original weapon too to use.
Yeah,
I mean,
any
like,
construction workers, let us know. Is that something you could carry around?
Can you carry that around? I feel like that would hurt. And like they were both like, she was kind of small. I was like, that has to be hurting her back. Like that's like a 40-pound.
Maybe they used like I don't know. Maybe they used foam or something. I don't know.
It was
No,
cool.
couldn't have.
Regardless, it was badass.
It was badass for sure. Yeah.
I love that shit. Like in the Texas Chainsaw remake, they used the chainsaw through like the roof and through the glass and stuff. And for some reason, like
Just like
saws and weapons through glass, like car glass that doesn't break. I don't know. It's just something about that makes the gore more intense for me.
what about like an Evil Dead with the Abomination? Like
Yeah.
that was scary.
Oh man, that was the other thing. Is like in the remake where she has to like just like pull her hand apart, like to get it out of there from under the car.
Oh, that was
I love
so
that
good.
stuff.
The blood rain.
Yeah, that's a movie that I would say, like, love it or hate it, the remake. I feel like that is one that is like, I mean, and it was a French director, so like, that kind of is like the closest feeling to something like any of these movies. You know, the violence and the gore in that movie was
Yeah.
awesome. Being stabbed with a needle a bunch of times, even into the eyeball, like shit. And like the finale kill in the Evil Dead remake is like unbelievable. It's
I just like
a chainsaw through.
the like relatability of it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like before, it was just like a group of friends, which I love the original. It's one of my top 5 favorite horror movies. I'm not saying anything negative about it, but I liked that exactly. But I liked that in the remake that it kind of gave like a backstory about why they were really at the cabin, and I
Yeah.
thought that was really powerful.
Yeah, I really dug that, and I dug that it wasn't just trying to make another Ash Williams too. You know, it was like,
Yeah. It was.
even though it kind of did, but it wasn't a dude. I love that it was a chick, and I love that actor. She was great in Castle Rock and also Don't Breathe, right? She was also in Don't Breathe.
She's like really good, and I feel like this is like unrelated sort of, but I was her character at Universal.
Oh,
And so I always
awesome.
look at like her roles and I'm always like, oh my god, those are like the ones that I want to. But
Yeah.
she's phenomenal. She's such a good actress, and like she's
Definitely a good scream queen. Like,
Oh my god, she's amazing.
yeah. I really like everything that I've seen, and I'm glad that, you know, I'm sure it's miserable being covered in blood at 5 a.m., like from head to toe every day for like 7 days a week. But
I just
she
remember
killed it.
like remember that one scene in Evil Dead where she's like in the bed and she's like talking to her brother and she's just like, we have to get out of here. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god. I was just like, yeah, she was just so good at that. Like, that was so powerful.
And the guy who played her brother the whole time, I was like, he's dressed like Ash. He's gonna become Ash. This is gonna be weird. And then he just blows the fuck up at the end.
Yeah.
I was like, how's he gonna get out of this one? Oh, he's not gonna be a new Ash. I get it. I was like, I just loved how he
good.
kept duct taping everybody. Like, that was one of my favorite jokes in the original, where he's like, we don't have anything to like tape this up, so we'll just duct tape it. And I was just like, the fact that they just did that throughout the whole movie, I loved that. I thought that was such a great little joke. And
It
running
was.
gag.
It
But,
was good.
but yeah, I mean, and again, French director, but like these French movies that we watched, I want to explore more French movies. And if you guys have any like great ideas for French horror or anything like that like we haven't mentioned at all in this episode, please let us know. We could always do a
Yeah.
part 2 and keep touching more on that. Is there anything else you really wanted to talk about for any of these guys?
We touched on all the things that I thought were really cool about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the direction was great in all of these films. I think, I want to say, I could be wrong, but I want to say them and Martyrs were produced by the same people. I
Oh,
could
really?
be wrong. I could be wrong, but I feel like I saw a similar producer's name on there. It could have just been a pretty standard French name, too, for all I know. But I really enjoyed all 4 of these. Thank you so much for suggesting these 4. They were awesome. And again, if you've never seen them, check them out. There's going to be some links in the description below to where you can find them on Amazon or Netflix or something like that. And
Yeah.
do yourself a favor. If you like gore, if you're a fan of, like, you know, I'd put it in a range of, like, if you liked Hostel or the Evil Dead remake and you're able to,
Yeah.
like, handle that type of gore and violence, like, you'll probably really enjoy these films. And I think you'll really
Definitely.
appreciate it as a horror fan, just the way they're made and how well they're made.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's not all bells and whistles like you get in horror out here, so you might be saying, like, oh, this kind of looks home movie-ish at sometimes, but the way they frame everything and the way it's
Fair enough.
acted and the story is just... it makes up for it. There's no reason
Totally.
to even think about that stuff once the movie gets started, because all 4 of these are very interesting and very, very cool movies.
Definitely. And watch the French Martyrs first before you watch the American one.
Yes.
Unless you're, well, I was going to say unless you're like petrified to watch but I want them to watch it.
Yeah.
Even if they're too scared to.
Yeah, I feel like it's a rite of passage as a horror fan now. Like, something that I didn't really appreciate the first time around. I feel like I feel like if you really want to explore horror, you have to dabble in stuff that's outside of, U.S. horror movies. And
Yeah.
starting in the French realm is awesome. And I know, like, in future episodes, we're going to talk about some Italian horror. So we'll get to see some great Argento stuff and some Japanese horror as well, and some Australian horror. So we'll get it to we'll travel the country, travel the world with us, and we'll enjoy exploring some great horror movies with you. But for the Bloody Ghost Show first episode, we'd like to thank you for watching and coming on this journey with us. If we missed anything from your favorite movies or any of these 4 movies, again, just let us know in the comments below. We'd love to discuss it with you. But for the Bloody Ghost Show, I'm Matt.
I'm Madeline.
And we'll see you next time. Hey, thank you so much for watching that episode. If you liked it, be sure to hit the subscribe button and leave us a comment.
And check out some of our other videos down below.
Stay screaming.